think those are fruitful things, and it really allows me to track the time, because during the season, we're spending maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours on recruiting, trying to align, phone calls, as a guy who's married and has two children, that's priority number one as far as my life, being able to make sure that I'm still pursuing my wife daily, but also still being an influential father and being present with my children who are under the age of 4. So I want to try to make sure that I'm strategic with my communication with our recruits. And so a lot of it comes down to being able to have that established. But then we also have, visits, right? We're real big into visits. We like to do one-on-one visits. As the head coach, I want to be there. I don't have my staff just run them. We don't do that. But when you come on campus, depending on what degree you're going to go for, we have guys that are, exercise science, sports management, business accounting and finance, marketing and management. We have criminal justice. We have psychology. We have education. We also have, theological studies. We want you to be able to talk with that dean of that college, right? So if you're, Caleb, you're an exercise science guy, we want you to talk with Dr. Oslox and be able to figure out, this is what you're going to do your freshman year. This is what you're going to do your sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. And these are kind of the steps that you can take based off of your, ambitions to be a physical therapist or get into strength and conditioning, or, be able to go to a PT school so that you can try to get your master's and then try to eventually get your doctorate, And so we want to try to establish that rapport with those professors so that you understand that we as coaches, we only have so much of an extension with our development, right, within our influence. And so we want you to understand that, Crown College has amazing professors that are going to be able to influence you in the classroom, right? And you're known by your name, you're not known by a student ID. And so you have that intimate relationship with those professors. And it's also with our spiritual formation team. It's being able to, meet our campus pastor or meet our assistant campus pastor, being able to meet with our athletic director, being able to have that conversation. If you're lucky, you might see the president, right? He's been, many times he'll be walking when we're doing a visit, and, he'll go up to the student athlete and be like, hey, where are you from, buddy? You right? How you doing? What do you like so far? Right. And so he's very engaged within our, recruitment of our student athletes. And so we get them on campus, and then, we're very respectful, and I don't know if this could be, a double-edged sword, but, when I was in the recruiting process, I had, many coaches along the way say, hey, if you don't have a commitment by February 1st, we're going to take that offer off the table. And so for us, we really want our prospective students to pray for, where the Lord is calling them to go, right? What is the best fit? Higher education is expensive. I mean, I'm still paying back student loans, to this day. And so I understand it, but it's also a great opportunity. There's so many parallels in any sport that you get into, to be able to help you later on in life, right? Become a better husband, be able to be, a patient father, and be able to be guiding and nurturing, and be able to kind of work through your own individual insecurities, or navigate, graduating and getting into that. It's a lifelong, authentic relationship that not only you're going to get from your coaching staff here at Crown, but also from your professors, from your president. I know our president is very involved with everything that we're doing. And so being able to have that on time, being able to make sure that we're good, is really an important part. And then obviously when you sign, it's being able to do your signing days, making sure that you're celebrated. We want to make sure that we do that. We'll get into the right before season. As soon as we have, all of our guys, we're going to make a post on our Instagram and celebrate those guys. But, we want to make sure that guys are there. Obviously, we got to talk housing, right? We got to talk about, making sure you're rooming with a baseball guy, but also you might have a basketball player that you room with. You might have a football player that you room with. You might have, a track and field, or, cross country guy, or a tennis player. We try to do our best to get as many baseball guys there as possible, but, within a housing department, you got to meet a deadline. And so if you get to that April timeframe and you don't have all your guys committed, and, they decide to get, commit after that April deadline, then there's not a lot of, guarantees within getting housing, right? So it's talking meal plans, it's making sure you're good with that. We have on-campus living, so you got to live on campus till you're of the age of 23. And so we have, a couple grad guys that are living off campus now. And so being able to kind of get them along the process, that's a big kind of key role with, how you're able to get on. But it's really keeping that dialogue back and forth. If I don't talk to you in a month, am I saying you're really interested? It's kind of hard to, just like when you had a girlfriend, if she ignores you for a month, you're like, man, this girl, she's not into me. Right. And I'm sure the same thing with, females with a guy. If a guy's not calling you back or not hitting you up, there's a pretty good chance they're moving on to something, you know, that is more to their liking, right? And that's okay. I just appreciate transparency. I'd rather be transparent with you, and for you to be transparent with me as a coach. I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to root for you. Obviously, I like you enough to try to get in touch with you, so I'm going to cheer you on. And we've had a lot of great kids that have come through the recruitment here at Crown that they've gone to D2s or they've gone to NAIAs, and said, "Hey, coach, I loved it. Just not quite where I want to go." And I'm like, "Hey, man, I'll be following you, man." And obviously, with the transfer portal, I think it's great to have relationship with guys, throughout their time, because as soon as they get into the portal, every coach is open to it, right? And I think that's the other attribute is, you have to be aware of those things. And I think it's important to find the right fits for your program, for your culture, but not just our program, but also for our community here at Crown is such a huge attribute.
Man, you hit it right on the head with just, well, first of all, having a community that's so behind your student athletes is just
Yeah,
huge because, I've coached in college, had a lot of really good presidents that I loved working for. They were part of our recruiting visits, so that is just tremendous
yeah,
for you guys.
for
And as
sure.
well for you listeners, we're going to link Coach Sedbrook's recruiting questionnaire. So if you're as fired up as I am, I'm out of eligibility. Unfortunately, I'd love to play for Coach Sedbrook and play for the Polars.
Yeah,
I'm out of eligibility. You guys are not. So we're going to link that questionnaire down in the show notes below. Make sure you fill that out if you're starting to think like, hey man, this Coach Sedbrook's a pretty sweet dude, and that's a place I could see myself growing and becoming a better version of myself at. On the next one, Coach, what would you say your value is, like to your team camps, individual prospect camps, in comparison to some of those like more commercial events?